Hello and welcome to Simon Says Artwork. In this video I'm going to be doing a few portrait drawings to show you, but I'll also add on a life drawing, just a little study that I think would be quite nice in there, and a little bonus video, just a little time lapse at the end that I think you might like. So alright, let's go take a look. Okay, so when it comes to making a portrait, on this occasion what I did was I'd shaded the page with a mid-tone, which just means a light pencil coating on the whole page. This just means that if I really wanted to, I could have erased certain parts of the drawing in order to make a brighter highlight. But I had started by trying to just try and isolate certain patches of shadow, so parts of the eye, the relation to the dimensions of the nose and the cheeks, and it worked out okay for a pencil portrait. On this next one, I spent a bit longer and did several sessions trying to get it correct. And this was a model that I found on Instagram, and I did message him and I did get his blessing to use him on my Instagram page. So this is something where it is worth trying to speak to the model if you can and get in touch with them to let them know that you're posting a drawing that you've made of their image. But it took me a while and I used several pencils to try and get it correct. And it doesn't look exactly like him, but it was close enough to the portrait that he quite liked it. Now I tried to build up with I'd say a mid-tone pencil, which is the Blackwing 602. It doesn't go especially dark, but it's really not as hard as some pencils that you can use for very delicate rendering around the nose and lighter areas, say the forehead, where you're getting more light than you are shadow. But as you can see from this part, I'm also using a mechanical pencil. I found that quite nice, even though I usually don't use that, because I wanted to get something which was a bit more sharp and just stood out as far as actually getting angles in there. That's what I used. I also used a Blackwing Palomino pencil, which is not the 602, it's a softer pencil. And that was to get some of the darker shadows. And then when it came to rendering his shirt, I really just ran out of steam and I went back in to the hair and certain features on the face. I do like the results and how it came out. This is where I left the portrait, but I could have gone further and done more to it. You always can. Now, that's where I got up to in that portrait, and I think it's quite nice. But for this one, this was actually before that. I did a portrait of a young woman who I found again on Instagram, but I didn't manage to get in touch with her. I don't think it was her page where I found the image. It was just one of those pages where you had lots of models being posted, and I quite liked the pose. And this took me a while to sculpt the face and really make it look anything like what the reference did. But I learned a lot from doing this because the light was quite interesting and you had some quite dramatic parts of the image where the look over the shoulder was quite powerful, and just to make sure that it looked dramatic and in a soft way as opposed to looking dramatic in more of a comical way. And that's all about subtle features of the face and getting the dimensions correct, because things did move around, and you can see it happening in this time lapse as well. Parts of the face here really move when it comes to cutting in, and it really changes what the face looks like. But it was a combination of pencils again. It was the 602, the Palomino Blackwing Black, which is not called black, but it's the one which I'm using at this point in the time lapse. And then also this other pencil, which it was just called Art. So it was just one of those cheap sets, but it was a very hard pencil. And then I decided to shade the outside of the model, and that actually added something to it. And I usually don't do this, but it did help because it added a bit of atmosphere around her, and it allowed me to really cut in to certain parts where it would have just been plain grey. And at the very end, I added this chalk highlights, which I don't think hurts, but I'm not especially good at doing that yet. But this is what it ended up looking like, and I don't think it's the worst thing, so it wasn't too bad. It's quite a nice portrait to an extent as a little study. Now this is a life model as opposed to a portrait, but because it's so small I thought I would put it on as well just to show you. It was done around the same time, and I did it with a bit of willow charcoal, which is really sensitive and quite nice because you can rub it out quite easily, as you saw me just do there. And instead of it being really black and heavy as soon as you start applying it, it's actually quite a mild browny grey. I say browny grey, I could be wrong there, but I feel like it's got a warm tint to the grey that you're applying to the surface. And that just means that you can slowly but surely build up what you're drawing. And I use a combination of smudging techniques and just gentle rendering and then reapplying darker areas to the shadow. And it takes me a while to build up the form, but it's one of those studies which I'm really glad that I did, because it's a great pose, and it was interesting to see how far you can get with such a small piece of paper and such an intricate model's pose and different parts of the anatomy to render. It does have quite nice effects where I shaded again around the model, which is not something that I do often. And then I had the thought afterwards to maybe smudge it in with my finger to create a blended tone. Again, I used the chalk here just to try and add certain highlights to try and make it pop. And it's not quite as sensitive as other artists use it, so I will try to work on that. But I do like the overall look of it. I do think it still works as a nice little study. And just to rub in the outside part of the tone around the model there, just to soften it and sink that into the background so that the model pops out a bit more. Now, as a bonus, I thought I would include my rotary pen portrait of Peter Draws. And this is a big influence of mine when it comes to just drawing and not hesitating, which I really appreciate and think he's worth his weight in gold, just because he makes drawing fun and easy for people and less stressful and less difficult to just initiate a drawing or a doodle or whatever it is you want to do, just some sort of picture. He makes that fun injected back into the process where it can just be really tricky. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, a comment, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.